you know, what's remarkable, I think I've listened to probably about 100. I don't know how many episodes you've done so far. It feels like hundreds, but I know it's
close to 90.
Getting close to.
There we are.
Oh wow!
Do you know what?
Getting close to 200.
I've listened to the vast majority of episodes. The vast majority. I mean, there were some Christmas ones that frankly went down a rabbit hole that I was just not prepared for. And daily,
They were fuck acts. Yeah.
Daily, yeah, they were fuck acts. Daily Rhys and Jesse is, you know, there's limits to my sanity. But I've listened to so many of them, and what struck me about this particular record is we're now 10 minutes in. It's after that many episodes, how so unprepared Jesse is. It's
all the time. I mean, that's my
remarkable.
It's two years in my job. I know my job. I know my position. My job is to be unprepared and to not know anything.
Just quieten down, baby.
Per capita export value.
Library.
Minister, are you embarrassed by your behavior today?
There's a lot of bleeding hearts around.
Do you have the fortitude or the gonads to stand up and come across here and say that to me, you son of a bitch?
Just watch me.
He certainly went too far, Mr. Speaker, when I saw him stick his tongue out.
Contemptuous disregard.
More than a slab of bacon talking here.
The disappointment you also feel is my responsibility.
I lost my temper. What is the nature of your thoughts?
The word was F-A-R-T.
So, hello and welcome to Canadian Politics is Boring. I'm Rhys Waters. With me is Jesse.
Hello.
Hello. And we're doing a bonus show with my good friend Owen Williams, who is also a listener of the show, who's fed up of me butchering the Welsh language and introducing it wrong to Canadians. Hi, Owen.
Owen, say hi, but in Welsh.
Pronounced well, actually, it would be noswaith dda here. Good evening, because it's actually 18 minutes past 8 in the evening, whereas for you, I guess it's about 4:18, 4, 3:18. I don't know.
Is Shemai, is that appropriate?
Well, Shemai is the common greeting here, particularly in South Wales. Shemai, Jesse. Shemai, and it's effectively
Shemai.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Iawn diolch, Jesse. Well, I'm good, thank you. Shemai is effectively how are you, or how do, or how are you, or hey. So it's effectively it's sup, yeah, sup. It's a colloquial greeting. So Shemai.
I can trade that with a greeting that I learned that I guarantee neither one of you know, and it's nonverbal. It's a nonverbal greeting strictly from Newfoundland, quite possibly from Bonavista, Newfoundland alone, although some Newfoundlanders will probably correct me on this. And you take your, I'm not kidding. This sounds like I'm going to make this up. I'm not making this up. You take your chin and you crank it to the side. Okay. Like real quickly, like, and then you make a little click with your, like that. So it's like you're trying to crack your own neck.
I've seen that done. It's like,
yeah. But like
it's
it's like you've got a spasm in your neck, like your whole head. It's like you're trying to touch your temple to your shoulder, like your chin kind of goes up to the side real quick like that, and you, like that. So
yeah, that sounds familiar. I think that
doesn't surprise me, seeing as how Newfoundland is all from over on that side of the island.
Yeah, isn't it a lot of Scottish?
Anyway, right?
Isn't it a lot of Scottish in Newfoundland?
Yeah, and Irish.
There's a lot of Scottish. Yes, a lot of Irish, a lot of Scottish. Yeah.
I've watched a few since Rhys emigrated. I've watched a few sort of movies from that area. Where there's a Maud is one of them on the artist. Nova Scotian artist, New Brunswick artist. I can't remember.
Oh, yes, Nova Scotian.
I'm in trouble for this. Yeah, Nova Scotian. Thank you. Beautiful artwork. But
Maud Lewis.
Maud Lewis. Thank you.
Maud Lewis. That's right.
Movie's called
Maud.
Maud. It's called Maud. It's got Maud.
I've been to a house is in the art gallery in Halifax. The whole house. It's not very big. It's like a shed, but it's cool.
Yeah, no, the movie's amazing, but the accents, I think, because they're less of a sort of Atlantic seaboard accent, and because travel around was a lot more difficult in those days. I think once you arrived, you stayed. The accents are a lot more sort of unique.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, and I've noticed that Newfoundland. I think you did an ep on Newfoundland not so long ago, or last year I think it was, and strange, different accent to Nova Scotia,
and they've got their own time zone.
Oh yeah,
different.
They do. They really do, and it's a half hour.
No,
past. It's true.
I only learned this really recently on Twitter that time zones can vary by sort of 10 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes. It's so strange. It blew me away. I had no idea.
I didn't know that.
So Newfoundland is in his own.
I've had to be convinced. Oh yeah. I mean, I've had to convince people that Atlantic Standard Time was a thing. Everyone thought I was an Eastern Standard, and that's where
everyone assumes we're the same time as New York.
Ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're way east of New York as you look at the map of the globe.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Owen, I got a question for you. How do you say, if you go to a drive-through in Tim Hortons and you decide you want to confuse the Canadian and you want to ask him Welsh, how do you say, please may I have a box of 10 Timbits, please?
Oh, right. Okay. So Timbits are a brand. So for a start, you just say Timbits. However, I was thinking about this, Rhys, and Bits. Thanks, Rhys. Bits. Bits. Oh, God. Honestly, listeners, you'd be so surprised how disorganized Jesse was when he arrived to start this. It was just unreal. It was everything I wanted it to be, but sort of worse and better all at the same time. Timbits. So I would say Tamide Tim, but that sounds...
Tamide Tim.
However, I'll be completely blunt with you, gents. It sounds disgusting when it's a sort of a little bit of Tim. And that's not... that doesn't work at a drive-through.
Little bits of Tim.
Let's see if I can amp it up a bit.
So you would
I want to see if we can amp it up a bit. How would you say, I would like to jiggle Timothy's bits in my hands?
Hoffwn ffidlan dy tamaid... hoffwn ffidlo dy pethau Timmy yn fy nwylo. But however...
Jesus, and that's, I'd like to jiggle Timothy's bits in my hands?
Yeah, but just don't... Timothy. Sorry, I thought you said Timmy. Hoffwn... I remember this episode, it was very good. Hoffwn ffidlan dy pethau Timothy yn fy nwylo, os gweld i fod yn dda. Honestly, Jesse, don't go into a bar and say that. Jesus, don't do it. Don't do it.
I couldn't remember for the life of me.
Well, I'm glad in a way. I mean, frankly, there's only Welsh speakers who listen to this right now who are going, yeah, fair play. He'll never repeat that.
Yeah.
Or Rhys.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about my history with the Welsh language. My great-grandfather didn't speak any English at all. He only spoke Welsh. And then my grandmother got beaten at school for speaking Welsh. And also he discouraged her to speak Welsh because he just didn't think that she would get anywhere in life if she spoke Welsh. Yeah. And then I'm a product of all those people who grew up in that environment who's like generationally forgot Welsh on purpose. And then I never had, my Welsh teachers were always so aggressive. They were, some Welsh speakers who were very defensive of the language are just quite, they're so defensive, they get quite angry when people get it wrong. And they were those kind of teachers, which wasn't a good learning environment when they got angry at you for getting it wrong while you were trying to learn. So
yeah, I mean, it's an awful experience you'd have had there. However, I would say those teachers were a product of what your great-grandfather and grandfather went through.
Oh, yeah, I get why they were angry.
Oh, yeah, they were furious.
They used to beat my grandmother.
Yeah. They were absolutely furious. They'd come through a system where they were probably beaten for speaking the language that they probably couldn't shake because that's what they grew up speaking. Exactly. I mean, it's the history of how particularly English settlers in Wales have treated the native tongue of Wales, the indigenous language. Think about it. Think about Nova Scotian and Mi'kmaq. You think about the Arcadian people. Think about the way... I've done some reading, Jesse. I've done some reading. This
is dangerous territory now. You've already exceeded Jesse's knowledge.
Yeah. But think about the way...
Can I be excused? My brain is full.
I'm a Welshman. I'm a Welshman who doesn't live in Nova Scotia, teaching you about Nova Scotia.
Jesse, to be fair, Jesse, you probably do know about the Arcadians, and
yes, I do know about the Acadians. Yes,
good man.
Yes, yeah.
Good man. Good man. Oh, see, he's been listening. He's been listening to you.
He's very sad if I didn't.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. You had these English settlers in Wales, and they effectively tried to change the tone and the timbre of where they were settling. And place names had their names changed, and streets had their names changed, and Welsh was forcibly removed from schools, and it was called. There was the betrayal of the Blue Books. They sort of took Welsh away from people and just said, no, you can't have that. And, Jesse, you may not have heard of this, but Rhys might be able to go into detail on this at some point. They flooded valleys in Wales to give English citizens water, flooded Welsh-speaking communities, filled it with dammed off these Welsh-speaking communities and filled it with a reservoir. And then you end up with... Yeah. It was called Capel Celyn.
When there's a drought and the water's low, bits of the buildings poke out.
See
the
water, houses, and this happened. This happened within my parents' lifetime. I mean, it's
oh my god. Were people living there? Were they removed?
People were living there, and they were forcibly removed from the valley, and the valley was flooded in order to send water over the border to England. And every Welsh MP at times sat in Westminster voted against it, bar one Conservative MP, and the motion passed. And they flooded the valley. So there's a
somebody set a bomb off as well, didn't they? To try and destroy the.
It's a torrid history, but and now it is largely, although grudgingly in parts, but largely very much accepted as part and parcel of what it is to be Welsh and in Wales. And even if you don't speak it, it's generally accepted to be part and parcel of the whole. The cultural experience in Wales. You can't get away from seeing Welsh signage and, road signage is all bilingual, there's two languages. And,
although you had a Twitter argument about the, so like in Canada, obviously everything's bilingual. If you buy like a milk or a bar of chocolate, everything's bilingual in French and English. And you said, hey, can you take some photos of things you've bought, the post that you could share on Twitter to show that it's there's bilingual stuff in Canada?
I did, because you're
well, you'll have to do it for us then. I want to see like Glosset raisins in Welsh.
Well, the country in which you live is a lot more mature in terms of a general acceptance of. I wouldn't say the people, because I don't really know, but in terms of the way the government has embedded the French language into everything you do, and to such an extent as it's in shops and not only on signage in store, but also on the products you buy. That certainly doesn't happen here. There are a few items here where there's Welsh on the labelling. It's very rare indeed to see that. So because we share a massive land border with England, and it's the same trading arrangements, it would be very difficult to convince to put in that legislation, but not impossible, in my opinion. Not impossible. Oh, this is going down a rabbit hole now that your listeners probably...
I know, I was going to say,
this is the Welsh... Isn't this a comedy show?
Any questions, Jesse, so
far? Nope. This is fascinating, honestly.
It's a first.
Just too fast.
I mean, it does remind me of... it does remind me of Quebec. Quebec's ordeal inside of Canada. Quebec has been for a very long time, from what I understand, afraid, and rightfully so, of losing their culture and their language to being overwhelmed by English coming in. And so, they, I don't know the full history of it, but like having Canada, be bilingual in every sense of the word has a lot to do with trying to maintain culture and language inside Quebec, which I understand and I'm all for. I get that. So I'm Welsh or Wales is a much smaller location and probably a lot harder to sort of influence the surrounding governments.
Yeah,
and
I don't
know. I don't know, but like
arguably, Welsh and its predecessors before it, the language from which Welsh was eked, so the Brittonic languages, the original language of the island of Britain. So the island of Britain, Great Britain, it was called, what was it called? Brittany or something, but way back when the Celtic peoples lived here, before the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons. So the Anglo-Saxon and Germanic languages is where the English language came from. So all came from Saxon area and, from those German sort of what's now modern Germany, that sort of area. So they came into this country after the Romans and effectively changed the way language was spoken here. So, but prior to the Roman arrival, the language of this island was the ancestor of Welsh, and There's an area of North England called Cumbria, and that name is based on the old Roman name for Wales, Cambria. And Cumbrian was the language they spoke, and that was a form of Welsh language. It was a form of the Brittonic language. And then Brittany and the north of France and Normandy, they spoke versions of the language that we speak. And there's an Isle of Man, which is a crown dependency land, which isn't in the UK but sits between us and Ireland. They speak.
I don't know a lot about the Isle of Man, but I was invited by a filmmaker in Texas to go to their personal film festival in the Isle of Man, and I can't imagine there are a lot of film festivals on the Isle of Man. So
it's a small
the Celtic Media Festival.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Jesse, if it was the Celtic Media Festival, I've won 3 of their awards.
Oh wow! Oh, that's cool.
I've never been. Cool. I've never been there to collect it in person. I never made it.
So, I feel like listeners don't know about Rhys's storied history in Welsh. Welsh television making.
He's a cartoon character that keeps his history to his.
It is remarkable. It's remarkable what he's
Rhys's history.
Yeah, there's a whole podcast of Rhys's backstory, but he's never going to go through it.
Jesse's not impressed by my background. He doesn't care.
Yeah, it's
amazing. Amazing.
Like, cocaine's a hell of a drug, So like, he's a workaholic.
No, it's no. There's a lot of people. In this industry speak very highly of you, Rhys. You know that. But he's trying to keep this in because
they've never said that to my face.
Christina McCauley speaks very highly of you.
Owen.
Who else in Welsh television likes me? Keep that going.
Owen, to get it back on track,
let's do it.
Welsh language. I've got a segue to get us back on the Welsh language.
I like that you arrived late, but now you're trying to segue.
Yeah. I would like you to really gruesomely, graphically insult me, but with the tone that it's a compliment, and then afterwards compliment me with the tone of an insult.
Okay. Jesse Mutin. Bydyn eithafol, mae gen ti wyneb fel penol buwch a mi wyt ti'n llyfu dy fam.
So that just sounded like you were reading off like a grocery list. You have to.
What did you say? What did you say?
I said you're an extreme penis. You have
that's true.
An extreme penis.
You have the face of a cow's ass, and you lick your mother. And it's all the first things came into my head, and I wish I hadn't said it because it's
all, I love how it's always farming related.
All right, now you have to compliment me, but make it sound like an insult. You have to do tone and inflection, man.
All right, okay. So
voice acting.
I see. It's voice acting. Jesse, ti'n hollol hyfryd.
What did you say?
You need help?
I said, Jesse, you're really, really nice.
I got a question for you, Owen. My oldest son is reconnecting with his Welsh roots because he's in a very multicultural class in Canada, and people are celebrating Diwali. There's kids with turning up, in traditional dress during like the Chinese New Year celebration. So he's kind of like, hey, what are my roots? And he's really kind of been exploring his Welsh roots because he doesn't remember a lot about Wales. And I was trying to show him the national anthem, and I assume you're going to tell me that I get it wrong. So I was going to wonder if you could help me do the anthem.
Yeah,
better.
Of course I
can. Not sing it, but so I would pronounce it. My
I'm not going to make you sing. I'm not going to make you sing.
No. My hen wlad fy nadau and oily me. Did I get that first line right? Or wrong?
Okay, so it's my hen wlad fy nadau, which you pretty much got right, but then you said anoili me. It's not anoil. It's an anoil I mi.
Anoil.
Anoil. My hen wlad fy nadau and anoil I mi. The old land of my fathers is dear to me.
Okay, and then wlad baedd a chantorion en wagion o fri.
Not far off.
close?
Not pretty good. Gwlad beirdd. You said beirdd, so beirdd.
Beirdd. There we go.
Gwlad beirdd a chantorion, a land.
We're not going to. We'll go through the whole song.
Right. Okay. Don't do the rest.
I grwrol revelwyn glad garw tramad.
Okay, so you've stumbled over the revelwyr, which means fighters, effectively. So it's a gwrol revelwyr.
I gwrol revelwyr.
Yeah. Gwlad garwyr tramad. Lovers of country.
Tramad.
Gwlad garwyr tramad. Yeah.
I tried so hard not to laugh.
I'll do the last line of this verse now. Trosryddid golasant aigwaid.
No, you were pronouncing the double L as an L. It's so dros ryddid collasant.
Collasant. I missed the T as well. Collasant aigwaid.
Dros ryddid collasant aigwaid. Oh, for freedom, they shed their blood.
Yeah, Jesse, it's your turn. You do one.
I mean, I can't do it, and I really compliment you for trying, Rhys. I couldn't do anywhere close to what you're doing. But
you know, Rhys,
really
honestly,
Rhys,
entirely recognizable as
I was just going to say, yeah,
you did it.
Really? I mean, it sounded like Rhys had a head injury and a mouthful of marbles. So like it's just kind of.
Owen does it more convincingly. It comes convincingly out of Owen's face, whereas I do sound like I'm butchering something.
Give me like a really simple one.
Yeah, teach Jesse a phrase. I tell you what, teach Jesse a nice phrase.
What kind of what are we thinking here?
My name's Jesse, and I like podcasts.
The enwy yw Jesse.
The enwy and Jesse.
Yw Jesse. The enwy. My name is
The enwy
yw Jesse.
Yw Jesse.
So my name is Jesse. It's a bit strange, but that's the way.
My name is Jesse. The enwy
Jesse.
The enwy yw Jesse.
Yeah. Rwy'n
Is that right?
hoffi. Yeah, that's perfect. Rwy'n hoffi podlediadau.
Okay, one more time.
Rwy'n hoffi. I like.
Do I really have to roll that R that long? Rwy'n hoffi.
Do I roll? Do I roll really long?
You do.
Well, I don't know if it's long or not. You tell me.
It's the tip of your tongue. Rwy'n hoffi. Rwy'n hoffi. No, just Rwy'n is fine. Rwy'n hoffi.
Rwy'n hoffi.
Podlediadau.
Podlediadau.
Yeah, you got it. And you even got some inflection at the end for no reason.
Podlen?
No, lead.
Podled hoffi. That sounds
no, yadai.
Yadai. Oh my god.
Yadai.
Podyedladai.
Podled. Yadai.
Podled. Yadai.
Podled.
Jesus.
Podled.
Okay.
Yadai.
I'm so sorry, dear listener.
And a single podcast is podlediad.
Podlediad and
podlediai. So that's an interesting question. I think that I'm about to ask. Usually other people say it's interesting or not, but I'm going to preface this question by telling you it's already interesting. When podcasting wasn't around until like 20 years ago, less than that. So like, did someone invent the Welsh name like for a word for podcasting or podcast?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, casting has always been a thing, isn't it? You had witches casting spells, so
and fishing rods,
and fishing rods. So the idea of podcasting is just a portmanteau of the terminology for an iPod and broadcasting, isn't it? Whereas
it's exactly what it is, actually.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. So what we've done is the Welsh has taken a form of that and run with it. Of course, the iPod is a brand name, so why would you change the pod at the start? You just leave it as is because it was an Apple brand name, and then the lead. I mean, Yadai. It would have been to broadcast something is darllediad in Welsh. Broadcast darllediad. So you take the ediad off the end and you add the pod to the front. So you'd remove the darll. You add yediad to pod, and it's podlediad. So
Podlediad.
Yeah. So you're asking the right questions, but I think you've got to think also about the fact that podcasting was not a word that was manufactured out of nothing. It's just a portmanteau of two other words.
Oh, cool. Neat. I learned something.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm just deconstructing the English language for you as well.
You did both languages.
Yeah, I did both simultaneously.
Both.
And I was talking Welsh from the age of 3, Jesse.
There we go. Interesting thing. I don't know if you know about this, Owen, but when they sent peacekeepers into the former Yugoslavia, the British Army got all the Welsh speakers to operate the radios because they realized their radios were being intercepted, and they needed a language that only people from the British Isles could understand. And I saw a news story that they would just get Welsh speakers to run the radios because there wasn't much of a chance of anyone working out what language they were talking.
I've heard this before. I've heard not necessarily about the former Yugoslavia, but in the Second World War they did similar. They did it in the US with the Navajo nation.
Yeah, the Wind Talkers, is that a film?
Yeah. That's the one, Wind Talkers. So the Navajo language, whatever the Navajo language is called, it's probably Navajo for all I know. But they use that language as a way of mass communication, but with a potentially small footprint on the other side. Of course, Rhys, if the Yugoslavian war had actually been in Argentina, like the Falkland War, we couldn't really have used Welsh. Because there's an area of Argentina and Chile called Patagonia, and there's an area of Patagonia where they actually speak Welsh, which is remarkable.
Wow! Is it like 30,000 people?
Yeah, it's about people? That. There's a range of places there called in the Chubut region. Of Argentina.
How did that happen?
Well,
they got lost. There was a rugby tour.
They got really lost on a rugby tour, yeah. Yeah, they got super, super lost. Well, what happened, Jesse, when they were flying on their dragons?
It was survival. It wasn't like we're going to go and conquer somewhere. It was like, hey, if we stay here, they're going to destroy our culture. Let's go.
It was literally that. It was they'll destroy our way of life. They'll destroy our language. They'll destroy our churches if we stay. So let's leave and set up a new community elsewhere. And they were sold a bit of a pup by a guy who said, "You've got to go to this valley. It's really fertile. It's beautiful. There's everything you need there." And they got there and were like, "Oh God, it's awful." And
a lot of people died.
A lot of people died, and they had to build from scratch, but the language endured. And actually, bizarrely...
So how far away is Patagonia from Wales?
Oh my God, it's further than you guys. Way further. It's the other end of the world. It's right down the bottom of South America.
Yeah, it's not far from, like, it's down towards the...
It's down towards the South Pole.
You're closer to the
So a whole bunch of Welsh people were convinced by someone else to travel all the way to Patagonia because
they didn't have the internet in those days, so they couldn't check.
Right.
They didn't have Google Maps to plan.
If you're going to go that far away, you've got to go on a bit of faith alone, and you pay your money and you
MapQuest.
So it's like all these people who left Ireland with the potato famine and went to New York and found that the opportunities afforded to them were just not the opportunities they thought they were going to be, and then make their own way. But sometimes when you get those challenges, you deal with it, don't you? I guess. But yeah, now there are tea rooms in little villages and towns called Trelau, named after a man called Lewis. So Trelau. So it's a shortening or contraction of Lewis. Tre means town, so town of Lewis. Trelau. But these places exist today. You can go on Wikipedia and have a look at it, and they. The Patagonian flag is a red dragon because the red dragon is the national symbol of Wales. The red dragon on a blue background as opposed to a sky blue background as opposed to a red and green background. So I think it's remarkable. Some 30 to 70,000 speakers out there, and lots of Welsh diaspora gone out there as well. So lots of people have emigrated in the last sort of 30, 40 years to sort of try and continue those traditions over in South America, which is hell of a thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Apparently, didn't they ask for Welsh TV shows as well?
Yeah. And they've tried to do that as well. I know S4C, the Welsh language broadcaster, has been aiming to provide a stock of programming to them, and and make sure that their streaming services are available in that region. But it's tricky because it's so far away, and rights are different depending on your host internet provider. But things, this magic can be achieved. But it's a bit like, it reminds me of your Saint-Pierre and Miquelon episode. You've got a French enclave in what is effectively Canada. I mean, to all intents and purposes, they are so much nearer Atlantic Canada than they are France. Just off the coast of Newfoundland, I think.
I think it's great though. I love the fact they got Renaults and Peugeots.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you dropped in on Google Maps and taken a look on Saint-Pierre and Miquelon?
Oh my God, it's it practically. I mean, it's only technically not part of Newfoundland. It's
exactly.
If you look at the map, it's like,
I mean, the sort of wooden clapboard houses are a traditional vernacular of that sort of region, as opposed to those nations. But every shopfront, every house, every car, they're all French. There are Renaults and Peugeots. It's not a Canadian car, a Renault, by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I think it's remarkable. I had a really good look around Saint-Pierre and Miquelon.
I never thought I'd say this, but since I moved to Canada, I miss my Skoda. I had a Skoda and I miss it. I just can't get a Skoda yet.
Can you not buy a Skoda?
Is that like a cream for your rash that you were talking about?
No, Skoda is a Czechoslovakian. Oh no, well, it was Czechoslovakian. Is the Czech Republic is a car brand.
Or they've changed the name again, Rhys. They're called Czechia now.
Czechia. Oh, that's better.
I believe so. Anyway, I believe so.
It sounds like an insult. Go check yourself.
Maybe not to them, but
no. I think they've changed the name again. And also, Saint-Pierre and Miquelon is one of the only is available as an emoji flag.
Really?
What?
Genuinely,
really?
on your emoji keyboard, the Saint-Pierre and Miquelon flag is available. It's I cannot understand why.
That's the only like some countries don't recognize the existence of other countries, but if you got an emoji, you are real.
Effectively, yeah. Effectively.
Yeah, that's the only standard there is these days.
That's amazing.
Owen,
Rhys.
When I left, the independence movement in Wales was still pretty flat, but I've perceived just from online, and you've been going to rallies and stuff, is it becoming an actual thing? Or is it just me looking at, am I just getting like a curated feed that makes me think that it is a thing?
Yeah, I think you're getting a bit of a curated feed, although there was a poll November 2 years ago, and it was 33% of people in Wales would vote for independence if there was a referendum tomorrow.
That's way higher than it used to be.
Oh, that's way higher. That's up from about 5-6%. I mean, it's way higher. Funnily enough, I worked, because I run a social media consultancy and agency. I worked across.
You should plug it. What's it called? You should plug it.
Siml. It's called Siml. SIML.
I
actually work with
Owen worked with Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, you told me that. That's cool.
Yeah, in a very tangential way, just to be clear. But I was looped in an email with Lenny Kravitz. It's a bit odd.
Yeah.
So what's your website?
There's nothing on my website bar my phone number. I don't need advertising. I just do word of mouth. If you go on my Twitter feed, you'll see why. I'm good for work. I'm good for work. But I worked across the independence movement. It was called Yes Cymru, the movement, the largest movement. And I was working with them from November 2019 till January 2020, right in the middle of COVID, right as COVID started. And we brought in 4 months of my tenure, the membership went up from 2,000 to 18,000 members. And,
wow.
Yeah, I know, it was great. And each paying about £2 a month. And if you extrapolate the additional number of members to the amount they were paying per month, that's an extra £260,000, £250,000 in their coffers that year. It was amazing.
They should have bought. Did they buy a tank? They should have bought a tank.
They should have bought a tank. should have bought a jet or something. Yeah, I think it cost a bit more than that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's always been a bubbling under, and it's driven by things like the flooding of the valley, the flooding of Capel Celyn in the valley to provide water to Liverpool. It's driven by these injustices perceived by the people of Wales upon Wales. And there are plenty of people who go, oh, whatever. But there's other people who go, well, no, hang on a minute. Hang on.
Right.
Why does this keep happening? It shouldn't be like this. So one of my main aims is to drive some confidence, not just an awareness of, but also confidence in Wales and in our story and our background and what we're capable of, because we're a small nation, but we're way bigger than Estonia, and they're independent. We're way bigger than many countries in the world. Iceland, we're 10 times the size of Iceland, and they're an independent nation. It's not a small. It's small on a map, but not small when you consider it in when it comes to other countries as well, and other independent countries in the world.
So Owen is fighting and building confidence. I just ran away and became Canadian.
I don't know who got the better deal after Brexit, to be honest with you. I have my moments of deep-seated envy, believe you me.
You just, like when I post videos of bears trying to get in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I wish that bear was going to try and eat me, or that tree was going to fall on me.
Recently on WhatsApp, he's sending me pictures of him roaring in the garden in a dumper truck or a small digger, and I'm thinking, if I could get a digger in through my back gate, that would be an amazing thing indeed.
I got another Welsh translation. Can you do what is clam juice and why is it in my cocktail?
Did you say clam juice?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. Have you
know the Caesar, haven't you? Jesse, tell him what a Caesar is.
A Caesar is I'm trying to think of the alcohol. I think it's vodka with tomato juice, spices, and clam juice. Clam juice.
It's a breakfast cocktail that Canadians invented.
So what do I need to say?
Stick a piece of celery in it too.
What's the translation? What do I need to say?
What did I say? I've forgotten.
Why is there clam juice in my cocktail?
Yes, that'll do.
Pam fod 'na sydd cregyn bylchog yn fy cocktail.
But you have to put an inflection on it, like really curious.
Oh, okay then, fine. Pam fod 'na sydd cregyn bylchog yn fy cocktail? Jesse.
That's great. Here I am just trying to give like a little bit of voice dialect coaching, and you turned yourself into a Dungeons and Dragons wizard. Okay, just like
no, this is a Dungeons and Dragons wizard. Jesse, pam fod 'na sydd cregyn bylchog yn fy cocktail?
You should get Owen on your Dungeons and Dragons night to do everything.
Oh my God. What was that? What did you just say?
I said, why is there clam juice in my cocktail? Exactly what you told me to say.
It sounded like
I just had Jesse at the front.
Amazing spell. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
It's literally. I did literally what you asked me to do.
Yeah. Isn't it was it Tolkien used the Welsh language for Elven in Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah,
Elven is
that true? Oh, that's
yeah.
I didn't know that.
It is true. There's a lot of J.R.R. Tolkien said. What did he say? What's the famous quote he came out with? Welsh is the original language of the men of Britain, and Welsh is beautiful, is what he said. Something along those lines.
Did you hear what David Hasselhoff said about Wales?
No.
Are you asking me or Jesse?
You know I don't know. Come on.
I have a vague recollection, but I can't remember exactly what he said.
The first time I went to Wales, I thought I'd landed in a land of hobbits. Everybody was really small, and the houses were small, and the writing was backwards. David Hasselhoff.
And then he married a girl from Neath.
Yeah.
Was she Merthyr? As one of the two.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not far away from each other, are they? They're not far away from each other. They're about the same distance as Dartmouth to I don't know anywhere else in Halifax.
Enfield, probably.
There we are. Enfield to Dartmouth. Sorted. No, funnily enough, clams in Welsh are cregyn bylchog, which literally means boxy. What are creg? Shells, but boxy shells.
Boxy shells.
I love the fact you laughed at that, Jesse. It's not good knowledge, but Craig and Bilchog sort of boxy shells, which is what a clam is in Welsh.
Boxy shells.
So to come back to your idea of podlediad, we do have words for things that predate the existence of the English language. So, for example, a window in English.
Hold on, did you say predate the English language itself?
Oh God, yeah. Welsh is way older than the English language. Way older. English language.
I did not know that at all. What?
I thought I'd said that earlier on. Well, the English
you probably did. I wasn't paying attention.
No, that's fine. The English. This is why I don't learn anything. The English language is a fairly new invention in terms of the history of the world. It's a range of Germanic languages and Romance languages sort of smashed together. I mean, Welsh as a language is one of the original languages of the island of Britain. So the Brittonic language, which predated it, is
that's about 10,000.
Yeah, centuries old. The Romans, the Romans arrived in the island of Britain, and the Welsh was there. The Welsh people were there before that. So the Welsh language is way older. But we have words that we've nicked off Latin as well. So ffenestr, which means window in English, ffenestr. And in French, of course, a window is fenêtre. So fenêtre and fenestr. And I think pretty sure that Spanish and Portuguese have got similar origins as well. But of course, English,
which is where I'm fairly certain. Which is where I'm fairly certain my favorite English word originates from. My favorite English word being defenestrate, to throw out of a window.
This is it. Defenestrate is effectively a French word, isn't it? Defenestrate, to throw out of window, and yet window is I think something like swain's eye. That's where it comes from. So this god.
I'm really quite upset, by the way, that there's no refenestrate.
To throw back, you throw somebody out, and then a group of people with like a big sheet bounce them back through.
Exactly. They're refenestrated.
It's effectively the two guys
through the window. Yeah.
It's those two guys you see in black and white movies walking across the street. Those are the refenestrators, aren't they? And then the mime just appears and puts his hands against the window.
Exactly.
It sounds like a it sounds like a really the refenestrators, like some kind of television show from the 70s. I love it. So, anyway,
and it was probably really racist as well.
Jesse, have you got any examples then of words that everyday objects or ways of describing things that are, when you actually translate to English, are quite entertaining? Like a box of shells or boxy shell is.
So what you're asking me is, are there any words in Welsh that when you translate them are completely nuts?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So
yes.
An owl in Welsh, there's two words for owl in Welsh, depending where in Wales you're from. There's tylluan, or there's the even better one, which is based on the noise an owl makes, and it's goody hoo. Goody hoo! Goody hoo!
That's literally just the name. Goody
That's
hoo.
awesome.
I can't translate it because it's literally goody hoo. It's like a Twitter hoo. You just call it. You call it what it sounds like. There's bochdew. Bochdew is a hamster, but bochdew is literally fat cheeks. Bochdew, fat cheeks. Oh, dew is fat, by the way. And
call your girlfriend that next time, dear listener.
Oh dear God,
she'll love it.
Don't call her that. Do you know what spinach is in Welsh, Jesse? Spinach in Welsh.
I do not.
Spigoglis.
Spigoglis.
Spot on. And
what's the translation?
There is literally no translation for it. It's literally the translation of spinach. There's no. It didn't mean anything in English. It's just a really delightful word. That one of my favorite words is.
It is a delightful word, yeah.
It is a delightful word. Spigoglis. One of my favorite words is sponken, which literally is a squash, or I think it's also a grasshopper. But sponken. It's not a grasshopper, sorry. Sponken. But it does sound, if you were, I mean, they may not say bonking in Canadian English, but certainly it sounds like something very rude you would do here.
I've always found the word for fish entertaining. Pasgod.
Pasgod, yeah.
Pasgod?
Pasgod, the god of pus.
Ew, ew,
No,
ew.
no, that is literally not what it means.
Supper.
That's what you do when you take Welsh and you take English and you apply it to a word and go,
That's exactly
no,
what
it
I
must
did.
be
I'm not
this.
saying
Yeah.
it's right, but
Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Mana mana monkey.
Mana monkey.
Yeah. Mana mana monkey. It means
Mana mana monkey.
It effectively translates as might as well do that. Mana mana monkey.
Mana mana
but
monkey.
it's literally man, a monkey.
Man, a monkey. Might as well.
Mana mana monkey.
What are you describing? A monkey?
No, you're not describing anything. It's just you're saying the words. If you took each individual word and translated it to English, you would be saying man, a monkey. But it means in Welsh, might as well.
Might as
Mana mana monkey. Mana mana monkey.
Mana mana monkey.
So let's put all these funny words together. What was the one before fish?
Spigoglis, wasn't it? Spigoglis?
Spigoglis.
Oh no! Or was it? Hang on, was it Bochdow?
Yeah.
Yes.
What are the English words again?
Bochdu was hamster.
Bochtow's hamster. Yeah. Spigoglis was spinach.
Yeah, Pasgod was fish, and then
Goody
Mana monkey. Goody who is an owl.
Goody who? On moron, Rhys. You know
moron.
Moron. You know what? You know what a moron is, don't you?
Oh, it rings a bell. I can't remember.
Come on, you eat it, Jesse. You eat a moron.
Carrots.
What is it? Carrots.
That's it.
So you, Jesse, would say moron for
carrot.
someone who's an idiot, but we would call that's a carrot for us.
That's the word for a carrot.
Same spelling as well. Same spelling. Oh, and
So
here's a good one. Here's a really good one for you. So the word for cockerel or rooster is ceiliog. Now, which cereal do you know with a cockerel? Kellogg's. Ceiliog. So the guy, that Mr. Kellogg himself was, I gather, a fan of languages. I'm not entirely clear in my head, but he came across the Welsh word for rooster and thought ceiliog, rooster, ceiliog, was very similar to Kellogg. And as a result, decided to put a rooster on the front of the box. And now that's one of the most iconic pieces of imagery and branding is that rooster. And it's all based on a Welsh word. But the other Welsh word that you use you use whenever you talk about wintry places where the weather is very cold, is penguin. Because
is penguin a Welsh word?
Penguin. When sailors first spotted these white-headed birds, they called them whiteheads. Penguin. And penguin became anglicised as P-E-N. It would have been P-E-N-G-W-Y-N, penguin, whitehead. And then it became anglicised over time, turned into the English language of P-E-N-G-U-I-N. So penguin.
I mean, I don't use that word every day, but
no. I was going to say, of course you don't. Of course you don't. But you.
Okay, so let's jam a bunch of these. Let's jam a bunch of these words together in a sentence. Can you say in Welsh, the rooster ate the carrot, the rooster ate the carrot, the fish ate the spinach, might as well give the hamster to the owl?
No, because I can't remember what you said first, so I'm just going to write that down, and then I will translate it
rooster
on the fly.
Ate the carrot.
The rooster ate the carrot. The fish ate the spinach. Might as well feed the hamster to the owl.
Might as well feed hamster to owl.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you want me to say is the rooster ate the carrot, the fish ate the spinach, you might as well feed the hamster to the owl. And now I will say that in Welsh. Mae'r ceiliog di bita'r moron, mae'r pysgodyn di bita'r spigoglis. Mae'r monkey bod hi'n bwydo'r bochdew i'r goody hoo.
That was amazing. You did that so quickly.
That was amazing.
Well, I speak both languages. I'm not translating in my head. It's just one
thank
comes
you
out
for this,
the
Owen.
other.
And Owen is
thank you.
Owen is a powerhouse on
you're
Twitter.
so welcome.
Do you want people to follow you on Twitter if they've enjoyed?
Oh, they can. I would be delighted to receive them into my chariot of wisdom.
What is your Twitter called?
I don't know why chariot. I want to say chapel, but I said chariot instead.
Chariot. It's like a moving chapel.
Weird thing to say. It's on Twitter. I'm Ows Wills. OWSWILLS. Ows Wills.
Do you feel learned now, Jesse?
So learned. My brain is
so Jesse. Whenever I do conferences, but what is the one thing you've taken away with you today?
That might as well as Man a Monkey. That's what I've taken away. Oh, and that there's a huge speaking Welsh population in South Africa, in Patagonia,
South America.
You were close.
You're very different.
I was very
different
close.
Continent. Yeah. Different continent.